Welcome to the Life's Best Medicine podcast, where we are finding hope and healing one episode at a time. No appointment needed, no rubber gloves, and no coping. Just a healthy dose of life lessons to help equip you for this wild journey we call life. Hey everyone, this is a friendly reminder that we are here for entertainment purposes only. We may not even be that entertaining at times, but this is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor, check with your healthcare professionals before making any lifestyle changes or medicine changes. What we're talking about is our clinical experience and what we've seen. And so if you really want our advice, you can consult us. You can actually consult me as a doctor, or you can consult my guest and get all your questions answered. But we can't give free medical advice because we can't pay our bills with that, but we can help to educate you a bit and allow you to think a little bit. And always reach out to your medical professional before making any lifestyle changes. Thank you. Hello, and welcome back to the Life's Best Medicine podcast. It's great to be here, back on American soil. I was in Guatemala for a couple of weeks. Hopefully you kind of listened to that podcast talking about my experiences there, and there'll be a couple more coming up in the near future. But I wanted to let my listeners know here that I am transitioning, but I'm not transitioning in the classic sense of the word or the acceptable way, maybe now in our society, but I am transitioning nonetheless. I've grown to realize more over the last couple of years being in practice here in San Diego, that it's not all about low carb. It's really about metabolic health. So no, I am not going through a midlife crisis. I still have the same beautiful wife, as you could see in the picture behind me. I'm still driving the same car. I don't have a convertible or a red sports car or anything like that. But I started to realize, look, it's really about metabolic health. So many of our guests are coming on, and it's not just about what they're eating. Sometimes it's about what's eating us, about stress, lifestyle, faith, all these other things that are really, really important. So I wanted to give you an idea of why I'm transitioning now. To focus on metabolic health. I'm now actually licensed. I've been licensed for about a year and a half in Arizona. Continue to have my California license, but over the last year and a half or so, I've watched the medical board in California go after doctors, and there's threats of persecution all the time. And I don't like to live under that cloud, because I know one of the big five of metabolic health is stress. So just knowing that if something's taken out of context, or if I say something that's not popular but may be true, there could be ramifications for that. And I've known that. So you still want to speak the truth. So I always told my wife over the years that if I ever had to practice in a way that wasn't consistent with my beliefs or my standard of practice, then I would have to go somewhere else. And over the last couple of years, this has become blatantly apparent. So yes, I am still going to be licensed in California, but I'm now I have a residence in Arizona. I'm going to start building Arizona metabolic health. There's some great people out in Arizona, so I will be going back and forth. I have a ton of family here in California, but I'm going to be transitioning more in that direction because there's a huge need in Arizona, and also that opens up, politically or professionally, having a residence in Arizona, that allows me to open up to 27 other states to see patients. And so there's a pact there. California is not part of that pact. So I realized that, being licensed in Arizona, I would have to live there in order to be a member of the pact where we could do telemedicine with other states. So in Arizona, I'm going to be doing mostly virtual practice online, giving advice on metabolic disease, diabetes management, obesity, things along those lines, and also working on my own health, my own sanity of being outside the city and maybe in a more remote area, really to help people and to help myself and my family. So that's why I'm transitioning at this time into more of metabolic disease. Also, my San Diego practice, I'm going to bring on a partner here to help out, specializing in hormone replacement and also metabolic health. So that will make things a little bit better with my direct primary care here in California, and mostly doing metabolic health through Arizona online. Just really consults, helping people, hopefully working with other doctors to bring some education, and really just to help more people. I think that's what my calling has been, and I've realized the importance of community and metabolic health. So going back, I really started, struggling with my weight forever since grade school, and then in high school lost weight, and then gained it all back during med school, and realized over time the importance of metabolic health, stress management, sleep, and ultimately came across Ben Bickman from BYU. Most of you have heard his podcast here. If not, please go back and listen. He's one of my favorite people. But a few years back, I sat down with him and I said, Ben, look, if I want to live a long and healthy life, what do I have to do? And he said, okay, Brian, easy, 5 things, right? Number 1, don't work yourself to death, right? Don't be working 14, 16-hour days. And that's my history. That's what I did for 18 years of my career, beat myself down, caused the gray hairs, metabolic disease and all that. He said, number 2, get your sleep. I was sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night and thinking that was a badge of honor. Now I realize the metabolic toll that it took, that I'm still trying to correct. Next, eat real food. Cut out the processed food, eat real food. Now, it's not just low carb. There's some people who can get away with more carbs, and some people have to get away with less carbs. Some people can eat more fat. Some people have to get less fat. It really, really does depend on that individual in front of us. Next, exercise regularly. Get out hiking, enjoy the outside, get some sunlight on your body at some point, sit by the pool, throw the ball for your dogs, whatever that might be. And next, number 5, don't smoke or drink to excess. Really find that balance in life. And as I've been around more and more, the big thing over the last year and a half, there's zero doubt in my mind the effects of stress. Being in a stressful environment, being stuck in traffic, arguing with your neighbors, whatever it might be, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And so really, we talk about the health benefits of the Mediterranean diet, and I've always believed it's not the diet necessarily, it's the Mediterranean lifestyle. These guys wake up in the morning and say, yeah, I don't think I'm going to work today. It's kind of windy. Yeah, you want to help me with my yard? Okay. Are you going to fix my roof? Okay. And so there's a lot less stress and tension. And I'm seeing a lot of people living in the inner cities. My old practice, I was just talking to my physician assistant here, and she says she doesn't feel comfortable going out at night after dark. She wants an escort to get her to her car, and who wants to live that kind of lifestyle? So that was more what I've been seeing is the breakdown of our society, the breakdown of not enforcing the laws. And it becomes scary. I like to have neighbors that are armed, that are good people, that will protect me if I need them. And so that's part of this whole idea also of saying, I really do want to be able to breathe fresh air, and I want to be able to go hiking and go out to a lake if I want to in the afternoon, and spend time with family, watch the sunrise and sunset, those kind of things. As I get older, those things are important, but also I haven't lost my desire to help other patients in the same way. And, and I do see when people are under stress, their sugars go up. When people are under stress, their cortisol levels go up. When people are working too much, they get beat up and grumpy and they don't sleep. And all these things have a metabolic toll. So if we want to have longevity, I think a big part of that is coming to grips with our stress levels, what stresses us out. And over the last couple of years, I've realized more and more it's the political system in California. I just don't fit very well in that, as far as not being able to speak the truth as I see it. I may be wrong, and I may have to reassess down the road. But the big, one of the big things, if you haven't heard me talk about it, is AB 2098. It was a law that passed in California, which stated that if a doctor speaks against what the governor says, or the medical board, which is appointed by the governor, they're not voted in, and most of them are not doctors in California that may not understand the clinical practice of what we're dealing with. We could put ourselves at risk, if they, for instance, say transgender surgery is appropriate, and you can't talk bad about it, then you can't talk bad about it, because if you do, you lose your license. Or whether it's vaccination, or whether it's any other treatment or medication out there, I believe in medical ethics in that we have the responsibility to discuss the risks and benefits and not steer a patient one way or another, but just to give them the data and allow them to decide as a team. And so it's become more apparent to me over time is that we can't have a guideline that fits all people because we're all different. So just like I said at the beginning, some of us could have more carbs than the others. If you're working out, 5 hours a day, then you probably need more carbs than someone sitting at their desk all day, or who has diabetes. So I think as time has progressed, I've opened my eyes a lot more to what really, really matters. And I think having a big mouth and talking about it, there is a financial cost of moving on, but I think it's worth it in the long run. And changing the focus, changing the name from Low Carb MD to San Diego Metabolic Health and Arizona Metabolic Health. There's cost to that. It's a hassle and a lot of paperwork and a lot of bureaucracy in order to make that happen. But I think it's worth it in the long run because that's what I truly stand for. I think metabolic health is the key. And if you want to steer more towards eating meat, great. If you want to steer more towards eating vegetables, great. Higher fat, lower fat. How do I support you in that? And how do we support our patients? And again, it's trial and error. Sometimes we're trying to see what works and what doesn't work and change course when necessary. So, if we're told what we have to do, gosh, I look at the food pyramid and it's been an absolute disaster when we look around and see how people are doing. So I think we have to reassess what we're telling people and changing the information we're giving. So being around people like Professor Noakes, being around, I was just thinking the other day about how many great people I've come in contact with. And most people are not zealots. We might be called zealots, but people like Jason Fung, who taught me about fasting, intermittent fasting, and if we can support people doing that, and that works for some people, great. Other people don't need to fast. Maybe they eat more during the day if they need to, if they're trying to put on weight or muscle mass. So I think when we start looking at the importance of metabolic health, that's why I changed the name and the focus is to really focus on these things. Whether it's faith, whether it's your employment, whether it's relationships, I think if we step back and say, okay, how do we nurture all these things to make us better people? On the way back from Arizona, where I was just visiting, I listen to podcasts a lot. And so I love it, learning from other people and hearing their perspective. There was a Diaries of a CEO. I've been into that podcast lately and just kind of listening. And there's a lot of information on nutrition, health, focus, and what really matters. We're talking about people who made millions of dollars and then ultimately they say, you know what? If you look at happiness, there was a big study in Harvard that was generations long. And one of the biggest determiners of happiness was relationship, right? And a lot of us are so busy, we don't know our neighbor. And I happen to have great relationships with my neighbors here. They're not happy about me transitioning to Arizona, but when I pulled into Arizona, it was at night, and I met my new neighbor, and we were discussing life, and we stood there in the driveway and just talked about life, what matters, what's important. I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. How many people really have this kind of experience in life? Most of us are just rushing in the house because we don't want to deal with other people, or close the door real quick and hit that close on the garage door so you don't have to interact with your neighbors. But that's part of our health. The other big thing was community. So I'm really excited about building community in Arizona, and probably initially, at least, I'll be probably there 10 days out of the month, and maybe in California 20 days, and then over time, reverse that, and take care of my clinical practice here still, because I want to make sure my patients are taken care of. But I could do remote medicine anywhere, which really frees me up to do other things in the community and maybe volunteer more and help out a little bit more. Coming back from Guatemala really enforced that, the importance of serving others, and I hope people listening, that's why you're listening partially, is saying, okay, how can I give back? Because so many times we could sit there and watch Judge Judy all night, or reruns of Dateline or whatever it is, and we get stressed out and tense at the end of the night when we could have been helping someone or learning something to help someone else out with. So the importance of getting out in nature, there's tons of data on that, and going to hike to a lake, or going out and just going for a walk with your dogs or loved ones or whatever. These are critically important things. And so many times in Western medicine, we're focused on the medication and we forget about root cause. So if people have high blood pressure, what is the root cause of that? Is it just idiopathic high blood pressure is what we like to say, which means we have no idea what we're talking about? Or could it be hormonal? Could it be stress related? Could it be that you're not sleeping? Could it be sleep apnea? Could it be that you're tense and stressed and fighting with your neighbors? All these things are really critical for our longevity, and also not just for longevity, but enjoying the moment, enjoying the day. Be able to sit outside and waste time sometimes. That's okay. I think in Western societies, we feel like that's frowned upon. We feel guilty if we're not accomplishing something or out doing something or having a better car than everyone else. And I think we get so lost in that process. And so, happiness, contentment, enjoying life, but also serving others. Again, coming back from Guatemala, I'm recharged now just watching my team running out into the dark night to help people that were in a car accident, or, searching around to find that kid who didn't get his medication that he needs, or bringing clothes or food or just encouragement, or touching someone's shoulder who needs it. So many lonely and hurting people out there. And that's why this podcast came around in the first place. Was, whenever I deviated from talking about low carb on the Low Carb MD podcast, people would say, don't talk about that stuff. We don't want to hear about faith. We don't want to hear about community. We don't want to hear about family stuff. It's like, well, those are things that are important. So sometimes we lose the sense of what matters and what's important, because sometimes society will give us bad information, believe it or not. If we look back as we get older, we start realizing what really matters. That's why I love my senior patients, because they'll go, I used to worry about all this other stuff. I think it might have been Mark Twain that said, most of the worst times of my life never happened. It was more what you worried was going to happen. So, being in a constant state of worry, constant state of concern about global warming. I mean, if I go back through life, I think about acid rain. We had the hole in the ozone. We had all the Y2K, all these things, that the Mayan New Year, the end of the world, all these things that were supposed to happen that never really happened. But how many hours and years were spent in stress and worry? So I think now I would encourage people to take a breath and kind of reassess. If things are hard or you're under chronic stress and you're not happy in your spot, say, okay, let me look at that. Let me look at transitioning to, a career that you love, or a volunteer that you activity that you would love to do, or saying, gosh, I never really worked with kids. Let me work with teenagers. And the impact that you can have on kids is dramatic. As a matter of fact, one of the podcasts was saying from ages 0 to 4 is where you can really, really impact someone's life for forever, as far as depression, anxiety, stress, being on welfare or being homeless. These first 4 years are very critical, but a lot of times they're just annoying kids to us, and we don't realize that the impact that we could have if we just invest a little bit. And so these are things that I've been thinking about lately. How do we have the most impact on the most people? And one huge thing is building community wherever you're at. Hopefully in Arizona, we could build this with metabolic health as our focus of, going for hikes together and going for walks, as I'm doing here in San Diego. So, just realizing that we could have more reach, and I get more exercise because I could walk with my San Diego people when I'm here and walk with my Arizona people when I'm there, get some hikes in and spend time and just share life and talk about, what really matters. And also just doing online Zoom, we could open that up to more people that we could bring in and watch each them, the patients actually help each other and give tips and advice. And so huge, and that's why this podcast, just having people on that can share their life experience and their struggles, and when you realize you're not the only one who craves cookies at night, and you're not the only one who doesn't want to work out in the morning, and how do we overcome those things? Because so many times we have the information, we know what we're supposed to do, but actually putting it into practice is the hard thing. And the importance of accountability, of having someone that has your back, that says, I'm rooting for you, even if no one else is. It's okay if people think you're eating weird food at first, and when they see the results, they maybe will start following suit. So all these things are what motivate me, and being out of the country made me appreciate the country that much more when I come back. The freedoms that we have, the blessings that we have, and the ability to really help each other. And I think one of the the negative things that's happened over the last few years is we've lost our sense of community. So many people are in isolation. We're used to just, being at home and maybe even talking on the phone and not really engaging and spending time with each other, going for walks or just talking about life and what matters. I think, sometimes we're stuck in our own brains or we're lonely instead of being uh, enjoying that downtime, enjoying the quiet times, enjoying, just reflecting on life and what matters. And a lot of people think it's boredom when you're alone, but sometimes it's great for you to kind of reflect and then reach out to other people and share what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And that sometimes is life's best medicine, is just being able to say, I don't have to be in 5 places a day and have a hectic schedule and run around like crazy. So hopefully this makes some sense to people, that this whole transition to focusing on metabolic health, those 5 things rather than just one thing. Now, don't get me wrong, diet plays a huge role, but it's not everything. We really have to make some other changes and watch our stress, because so many of us are eating poorly because, that's our stress relief, right? That's our friend. That gives us peace. And then we realize we feel bad about ourselves because we ate terrible stuff. So sometimes just going for a walk or spending time with people or talking to a good friend, you're going to get that oxytocin release, which also helps with testosterone and progesterone levels and knocks down the cortisol level. So, just getting out, hearing the birds, having quiet time, not being in a rush, all these things that are critically important. But a lot of us know what we're supposed to do, but doing it is the problem. So hopefully this will help you to kind of get a picture of where I'm going with this. And if you're in Arizona, I'm going to need patience. And hopefully, over time, there'll be 27 other states that we could pick up one at a time when there's a need, like, hopefully Idaho and Utah, the great people up there. And there's so many good states. So if you're interested, let us know. And I will get licensed in those states if they're part of the pack, so that I can help out. And because I have to pay 2 mortgages now, which is something that I haven't. I paid off my med school loans finally, last year. So I couldn't let my life be too boring. So I had to jump in another fire just to build my faith and build my humility and all those kind of things. So if you would like to consult with Metabolic Health, I would love to have you. Also, ArizonaMetabolicHealth.com. We have some of our favorite things like Keto Chow and a lot of the companies that we work with, of course, Health Code, of course, Keto Mojo. We got discounts for our listeners and our patients, so you can go there and Redmond Salt and all these kind of good products that I really believe in. And hopefully we'll get some more Arizona companies on board. But that's a good resource. And again, I would love to thank my sponsors here, Health Code. It's Get Health, GETHLTH.com. Great flavors. I'm making tons of different things with them for my patients. We're making pudding and chaffles and all that kind of stuff. So Get Health, Ben Bickman's company, excellent people. I'm going to have the Joel Bickman, Ben's brother, who I think they're twins, maybe they're not, but they look like it, on to tell his story and a little bit more about the company and about him and how they came up with this idea. But they're doing great things, great nutrition, and it really has been helping my diabetic patients to get their sugars under control. So I'm glad to have them as a resource and as a sponsor here at the podcast. And also, of course, Keto Mojo, keto-mojo.com. Tons of information, tons of education there. They if you don't know what the machine is, if I haven't explained it, but it basically allows you to check your sugar levels, and that's what I use to compare with my continuous glucose monitor to make sure it's accurate with patients, and also to check your ketones, so if you're fasting enough or if you're cutting your carbohydrates enough. It's a great marker, and I use it all the time, especially when I get back to the country and I want to double check where I'm at. So more importantly, they're great people. Both companies, I reached out to them because I want to have products that I believe in and that I use in my clinical practice and at home too with my family. So Keto Mojo, great stuff. And also Health Code, they have the chocolate macadamia flavor and vanilla. They're both excellent if you'd like to have shakes and things along those lines. If you're going out hiking, have your shake and then go out for a hike and go enjoy nature. So we're really going to be focusing on metabolic health. We're going to talk about what matters in life over some upcoming episodes. I have some great episodes coming up that I'm excited about, and I'm really happy that both of those companies really support the vision. They help me when I do volunteer work. They're very proactive, and they both want to help people, and I think that's what we're all here for. And I think as we build community, as we bring people together and find out how much we have in common rather than being divided by politics or religion or whatever it might be, I think we can accomplish some great things. So this is life's best medicine for me. Sometimes transitioning and stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit, but I've been blessed every time I do, and so I know that's coming again, and that we're going to be doing some great things. And it's a little lifestyle change and things along those lines that will help. But again, thank you. Hope to bring you a lot of great episodes coming up. And just remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. And if you're struggling right now, step back and just take a reassess. Sometimes just having a little quiet time to think and go, okay, or jotting it down in a journal. What would I do if I could do anything? What would I do in my relationship to make it better? What would I do with friendship? And start reaching out. And if you don't have friends, then reach out. You don't have to have a million friends. We just need one or two, someone in your life who can speak truth and keep you online, in line and on path. And also someone who'll pick you up when you fall down, and someone that you can pick up when they're down, because the rewards are amazing. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Thanks for listening. And next time you won't be stuck with me. I'll have a guest, I promise. All right, take care. I just wanted to give people an update on the metabolic health and why we're making that transition. Blessings. Thank you for listening to this episode. We greatly appreciate your support. We would greatly appreciate a positive thumbs up on all of the platforms like iTunes and Spotify, or wherever you're listening. And we just thank you for our Patreon supporters. We greatly appreciate your help in getting this message out. We think there's a lot of important information, and hopefully this helps you. Have a great day, and thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.